Hello and welcome. This is going to be our graphing two variable absolute values homework help video. Let's get started with problem number 1. We want to solve each equation for the variable. In order to do that, we first want to move away terms from our absolute value symbol. I'm going to do that by adding 3 to both sides. Now I've got the absolute value of n plus 4 is equal to 2. At this point, my absolute value bracket is isolated, so I do the split. Or I split it into the two scenarios. One, we just drop the brackets entirely. In the second scenario, we replace the brackets with a negative parentheses. Now I solve these two independently to get my answers. In this case over here, I multiply both sides by 4. Now I've got n equals 8. In this case over here, I can get rid of that negative. I can get rid of the negative and the 4 at the bottom at the same time by multiplying both sides by -4. The negative will cancel out the negative. The 4 will cancel out the divide by 4. This will then get me n equals -8. I should have mentioned that back up at this step, we double check that we're going to have two solutions. If this number over on this side is positive, then yes, we're going to have two solutions. We don't need to double check them for being extraneous, although that's still always a good idea. All right, quick refresher on how to graph absolute value equations. In problem number 4 here, I need to, again, isolate my absolute value. So I'm going to subtract 4 from both sides. And I got the absolute value of -7x is less than or equal to 56. All right, in this problem here, it's less than a positive, so that's okay. We're not going to get any extraneous solutions. This is a no solution scenario. Split it into the two cases, -7x is less than or equal to 56, and -7x is less than or equal to 56. Sometimes I do these parentheses here so you can see that the brackets became the parentheses with the negative outside. In this scenario, I'll divide by -7. I'll get x greater than or equal to -8. In this scenario over here, the negatives cancel out. I'll divide by 7. X is less than or equal to 8. Notice in this one over here, I divided by a negative, so I flipped my inequality. All right, put a point at -8, fill it in, put a point at 8, fill it in. From -8, we need to be greater than, so we're coming this way. From the 8, we need to be less than, so we're coming this way. These are going to connect up to make a line segment. This is an AND type problem. All right, so that's our review of absolute value. Let's start jumping into the problems that this homework's about. Graph each equation. Now, at this point, when we're graphing these equations, I want you to know how to do it in your calculator. Soon we'll be able to do it by hand, but for this homework, I want you to know how to do it in the calculator, and then we'll start doing it by hand on the next homework. To input an equation like number 5, I need to go to my y equals, clear anything out that you see in here. Make sure you got a blank slate. Now, I've got this problem starts with a negative, so I'll just use the negative button down here. Don't ever use a minus for a negative. That'll cause an error. To get the absolute value brackets, I need to go math over to number at the top there, and then press absolute values number 1. It gives me the brackets. If your calculator just says ABS and then has parentheses, it's working the same. Now I need to put my variable x in. I use this button for the x. Always this one. There's another x in the calculator, but it's not the same. To use this green one down here. Don't use that one. Use this one. -1, arrow over to get out of my absolute value brackets, do a +4. Now for the window, I want a nice standard viewing window, kind of like we see here. So I'm going to press zoom 6 for a nice standard viewing window. Let's take a look at this. Do our best to sketch it. It had a vertex about there. It looked like it was going kind of like this. And for this homework, a rough sketch is okay. Does not have to be precise, but that does look to be about right. Let's see, that'd be a 3 to do. Yep. All right, let's try one of the ones on the back side. Maybe number 14. This will be our last problem. Number 14, I want the equation 3 times the absolute value of x minus 4. So I do 3 times math, number, absolute value, x minus 4. Scroll over, add in a +1. And let's take a look at that graph. Much narrower. Again, just a sketch is fine. If you want more precise values, you can look at your table, maybe have your table start at 0 and go up by 1s. And then you can plot these exact points. Looks like we're going to hit 4, 1. And then we go off the graph about here. So yeah, for this homework, rough sketch is fine, but start noticing how are these numbers appearing in this graph. Well, that 3 seemed to make it go a little bit steeper. This 4 seemed to move it over to the right, and that +1 seemed to have moved it up. Once we figure this out, we can start graphing these by hand. That's that for this homework help video. Have a good rest of your day.